Starting. And we're live. I think we're live. I always like to give it a second. Do, do. Mhm.
I guess we are live. Are we live?
I think we're live.
Wow. Believe it or not, we're live.
I know. You like how I get into it real quick instead of just sitting
Your
here?
intro, hey, I think I may steal this page from you and use this as my intro.
My phone's not loading, so I can't tell. Anyway, I'm just gonna assume we're live. Maybe the phone will catch up in a half hour. Who knows? Who knows what's going on? Anyway, welcome to the Petercast Instacast. We're doing a little different because we're doing it on YouTube because Brent is driving back from the game. I think he told me he's actually stopping in Orlando. They're probably going to go to Disney or Legoland or something tomorrow. But I have here Gene Thomas from Buc What You Heard fame. Um, Gene, first off, welcome. And before you say anything, I would like to say officially, I was the one who said that Ryan Griffin was actually winning the quarterback position last year in camp, and that I am the official president of Die Hard is a Christmas movie club. Hello, and would you like to join?
Hey, I am 100% on the bandwagon. I will not watch that movie unless it's around Christmas. I
And there,
refuse to.
and there we have it. All right, man. So let's just get into it. You saw the game. I'm sure you had your thoughts about going in. This is basically a game pretty much from what I guess a layperson could see, because since all the linebackers were injured, I guess we could say it was the running back spot and probably the last couple wide receiver spots. From what you saw, what do you think? How'd it go? Who's the winners? Who the losers? What's going on?
Yeah, I love Sean Wilson. Again, he's continued to make the most out of his opportunities, and I mean, he's the first name that kind of pops in my head where he's been the most consistent as you've had teams playing against each other in preseason, and I like that he's again making the most out of his opportunities to really make plays and kind of find a place on whether it's special teams or running the ball, trying to find a place on this team. I would have loved to have seen a couple series with him with the first team just to see what would have happened. But I know we can't all have that, but it would have been interesting to see how he did against running with that line.
Right, and I think a lot of people are saying the same thing about Rojo. Um, It looks like they're trying to feature Bobo Wilson tonight, the wide receiver out of Florida State. Had him back there, I think, for every kickoff return, and fed him the ball a lot on the offense. Do you think he did enough, or did you already think he was going to make the team, or do you think he did enough to make the team, or is he still on the outside looking in?
He's one of those guys. I don't know. I like what Watson has done. I think Watson has, again, here's another player who's made the most of his opportunities. Bobo Wilson did have plays in this game. I think he was voted the player of the game at the end of the game. Uh, Again, he had, he did what he needed to do. I think it's going to be real close. Again, he is practice squad eligible. He's somebody that could end up on the practice squad again. So, as Jason Light talked about at the end of the back end of the game, he talked about how they use that practice squad as an extension of their 53-man roster. So, the guys that they get, they want to be able to, with injury or whatever happens, they want to be able to utilize some of those guys. So, definitely somebody who did a lot for himself in this game.
Well, so what did you think of the game? Offensively, defensively? Like what were you looking for going in? Let's say that. I mean, obviously the
Um,
score doesn't matter. It's hard to,
yeah,
with Bo Allen running the offense the whole second half, who got like 0 reps in training camp, that not a lot was going to happen there. So, what were you looking for, and how pleased or displeased are you from, after I guess me making you watch this game?
honestly, game four is a game I really don't pay a whole lot of attention to. I know that's bad to say. Your starters aren't in. These are guys that are trying to find a spot on the roster. This is the last audition for guys that aren't starters. So basically, it's a chance for them to show what they can do and get out there. And it sometimes it helps, sometimes it doesn't. One of the guys that I was really trying to watch it tonight was Noah Spence to
Right.
see how he's doing. And again, it was really interesting that Jason Light talked about him too, basically saying we haven't given up on him and he's continuing to improve. So I don't know how much you can really read into that, but again, I would say that he doesn't have the explosiveness that we saw last year or the year before. I mean, I'm not sure what's going on with him, but he just doesn't look the same as he has in the past seasons when he started out. I don't know about you, but he just doesn't.
Yeah, I'm with you. The word was that, he's not. We talked about. I think we talked about it a little
Right.
bit.
Yeah, we
At
did. We
at
talked
the
about it
end.
last week.
Yeah, how he's sort of playing checkers and he needs to be playing chess about setting up his moves and dipping into all his bag of tricks and I guess learning all the moves and mastering all the moves that, he just doesn't have a game plan going out there. It's just consistently, try to beat him on the outside, speed, speed, speed. Something that I thought was, and that's pretty much what Jason Light said as well, but something that he also brought up that I thought was interesting was not running past the quarterback. And that's something that he does like 5 times out of 10. Like, he
Yeah.
just tries to beat the guy outside with his quickness so much, you just basically gotta, you just ride. Okay, you wanna go that way? There you and just kinda ride him out there and, he's like 5.5 yards past the quarterback that's in a 7-step drop, so,
Yeah.
um, it's still work in progress for him. I think he makes the team. You think he makes the team too, right? I
Oh,
mean,
absolutely,
okay.
absolutely. I'm not, anything that you see on Twitter, don't take it seriously. The
Unless it's
whole,
for me.
yeah, yeah. So I got to get my spicy talk in where I can too. And if people are going to come out with all these hot takes, I might as well have my hot take too, whether it's true or not. But no, all joking aside, I think that he's a work in progress. I think he can be used. I think with Brinston Buckner, another person that Jason Light mentioned in his commentary, is somebody that could definitely help him to get better and find a direction. So I haven't given up on him, and we'll see what happens as the season progresses. I'm sure there will be opportunities for him to get out on the field and make plays.
Yeah, the best thing about, I guess, Noah Spence, you can say of how he's had to struggle this year in camp is uh, there's not a dire need for him to play like there was his
Mhm.
rookie year or even last year. No matter how bad he was going to be, uh, he was going to play no matter what.
Now, and I wanted to ask you
I,
this. This is
yeah.
kind of a something that kind of popped in my head while I was watching him tonight. Is it possible that players get these injuries, and he's been injured 2 seasons in a row, and it makes you apprehensive? Is it possible that he's not playing all out like he normally does? Worried about injury, re-injury, or is that a possibility, or is it just because honestly, something doesn't feel the same with him as what we've seen from him in past seasons?
Um, I I can't speak to that as far as Noah goes. I know it. I know it happens. I know Ian Beckles has this theory that Gerald doesn't reach out anymore because he's torn, his triceps his rookie year and
Mhm.
I guess his second year as well.
Yeah,
Uh,
second
s-
year.
so he doesn't reach out to sort of grab ball carriers. And honestly, last year, if you remember last year where Gerald got hurt and he went to the bench and he was like almost in tears and he was slamming his helmet down, and that's what I thought happened again. I thought he ripped his tricep again, and
Mhm.
it ended up where he actually didn't miss any time. Uh, but that's sort of something Ian Beckel says. I know that when like Jack Sitchie, who tore his ACL right before Wisconsin's season, and he just got his leg brace off like halfway through training camp. Um, they thought that was a big step for him, but then after he did that, the first couple of practices, he wasn't the same.
Right.
So uh, I think it's been a long enough time where that thought should be out of Spence's head. Um, it could be a possibility, but I'm not gonna use it as one of the like I don't want to say excuses, but one of the reasons he's not performing. If that
Yeah,
makes
but
any
just
sense.
something just doesn't feel right about his play this season. And again, I don't. I don't know if it's the coaching. I'm not sure what it is, but just something isn't the same as what we've seen from him before.
Agreed. Agreed. All right. So, uh, Sean Wilson makes the team. Yes.
Yes, absolutely. I'm on that bandwagon as well.
Me too. Bobo Wilson or Freddie Martino?
I would go with Bobo Wilson. I think Freddie Martino's had some drops in key possessions throughout preseason, and I don't know. I just seen more out of Bobo Wilson. More, I've seen more progression out of him from where he was last year to where he is now.
Hmm.
You can tell a difference in his play from just what you've seen, and it looks like he's really taking the initiative to get better and improve his game as a wide receiver.
I'm going to take Martino, and here's the reason why. Everything that you said, I think, is true, and I agree with. But for Bobo to play special teams, he has to return the ball. I don't know if he did enough tonight to take away the kickoff away from Sean Wilson.
No, not at all.
So then where does he play on special teams? And I think that's where it's going to come down
I
to
see.
where Martino is a bigger body. He can play. He doesn't have to be a return guy. There's lots of positions, special teams you can use him. Um, so that's my thought there. Plus, Martino's not eligible for practice squad. Bobo Wilson is. So that's what I'm going with that. So about halfway through the fourth quarter, we got one of the few times we ever get to hear from Jason Light, anybody interviewing him. I think he does one. He does like one at the beginning of the year, like at the beginning, before training camp. Then he does like goes on the radio one time, and then he does this preseason one in the booth every year. Uh, so we heard from Jason Light, the man with the plan, the GM of the Buccaneers. You listened to it. What did you take out of all the things, or what did you pick up on? Anything interesting that he said that you said, "Huh, you know what? I want to talk about that."
Yeah, I kind of do. He mentioned they brought up Jameis Winston and the whole suspension situation, and I know a lot of people take it as Jason Light came off as non-committal with Jameis Winston, but he's a general manager, and a lot of things can happen between the first game and the fourth game. So he's kind of taking a wait and see approach to it, and just kind of leaning more on the head coach and coming up with a game plan before they decide what they're going to do. But I really don't believe there is a quarterback controversy. I know that's going to come up, and you can expect to see that on social media. You can expect to see that in local news and ESPN and Fox News or Fox Sports, all those different outlets that never report on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to pick up on the fact that there's a quarterback controversy in Tampa when it really isn't. And it's not really news until it is news. And that's kind of my take on it. But again, just the way that Jason Light answered those questions, I know a lot of people are going to take away from that there could be a potential quarterback controversy when Jameis Winston comes back.
Yeah, we've been hearing this since basically he got suspended. Like the announcement came down was what happens if Fitzpatrick goes 3-0. And then Mayo's response, well, how do the Bucs go 3-0? Like, are we winning 35-32? Then yeah, maybe you might want to look at it because it's a short week and bring Winston back, for the week after Chicago game. But if we're winning like 24-21 and there's a pick six or a scoop and score in there, and the offense is really only putting up like 14 points a game, the defense is playing lights out, then even if they are 3-0, there's no controversy. For me, there's no controversy whatsoever. You saw
Absolutely.
you saw it in the preseason. You saw it last year when Winston came back from his injury. Uh, he has outplayed Fitzpatrick. He has the highest QBR rating of any QB with over, I don't know, 40 passes this preseason. He's played the best. He has no interceptions. Uh, should have had one. Uh, he has no interceptions. He has no fumbles, which is something
Yeah,
that he's worked on again. I think that's one of the reasons he's wearing that glove. He's keeping two hands of the ball in the pocket, something he didn't do last year. He was always too loose in the pocket. I just think you've heard Rick Stroud talk about, if you listen to his podcast. It's a Monday through Friday podcast. It's something he works on his craft, and every year
Right.
he's targeted something. And this year you can tell it's his footwork and it's keeping two hands on the ball in the pocket. And you're running out of things to be nitpicky about for not wanting Jameis Winston as your quarterback, unless you're just never going to like him, which I also understand.
Understood.
That's fine. You're allowed to do that, and you're allowed to
Mhm.
tweet about it. I will not. I will unfollow you. Um,
Yeah.
I have
No,
no
no,
time.
you make a valid point, and again, I had to get this out here because I want to get ahead of this and just say there is no quarterback controversy. I'm sorry, I just in every scenario that I can think of, I just couldn't see Fitzpatrick going all the way through the season. I just watching him, having watched him play over the years, you know what you have with him, and a short spell like 3 games, maybe 4 to get Jameis up to speed. I could see that, but again, you have to at some point bring Jameis in to finish out the season, and this is his team, regardless of what's happening, with the suspension and all this other stuff. Until the end of the season, this is his team, and it's going to be up to him to play lights out and protect the ball and put his team in a position to win. That's what he's going to have to do. And I know that Jason Light is going to that's his first round pick. That's the franchise quarterback. You have to give him every opportunity to succeed. And you're, especially with your coaching staff, if you want to keep everybody around, that's definitely going to be important to make him look as good as possible. Because again, that's a bad look when you have a quarterback that you kind of moved on from, and you move on with Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Yeah. Yep. Agree. So I got another roster question for you. If the Bucs,
Okay.
if okay, well, you didn't get to do a 53-man roster, so here's your chance.
I get put on the spot anyway.
Yeah.
Hey, I directed everybody to you.
I know, and I appreciate it. I mean, I know I was there. I threw it out. I was going back and forth with Carmen Vitale, the new writer for Buccaneers.com. She's been there. She got promoted to writing.
Yeah.
Going back and forth about the last. She put out an article, 5 people that have to have a good game to make the team. And one was Sean Wilson. I'm like, wrong. Uh, uh, Becca, she put in Bobo Wilson. Did she put in Bobo? I don't remember. One of them was like Tanner Hudson. I'm like, you got to carry 5 tight ends, and she's like, yeah. I'm like, okay, then who do you who do you not take? It's like, so you want Hudson over Martino, or do you want Hudson over Wilson? And I mean Sean Wilson. Do you want Hudson over Josh Robinson, the
Not
special
Grady
team
Wilson,
captain?
right?
Huh?
Not Grady Wilson, right?
No, not Grady Wilson. Anyway, here's if the Bucs keep 10 defensive linemen, are you taking Patrick O'Connor, or are you taking the new guy Jarrell Worthy, who was 56 tonight? That's in case you didn't know who he was.
I kind of figured who he was. I would have to go with. I like what Worthy was able to do. It looked like he was. But again, you got to consider who he was up against. But
Right.
I thought he had a pretty good showing. I would probably. I don't know. I would probably go with Worthy.
I'm with you. I think that he's playing. I don't know if he's playing the 3 technique, but sometimes he gets in there like Gerald McCoy, and he also flows down the line well.
Mhm.
Uh, uh, I like him as a rotational guy, as a DT rotational guy. And that's if they go 10. If they go 9, there's no room for him. I'd rather
Yeah.
have Will Clark for sure. But if they go 10 defensive linemen, I would like to have Joe Worley.
I
And
was I was happy to see Will Clark in street clothes. By the way.
right. Like I've been saying, like I told well, I didn't tell him, but I tweeted at Scott Reynolds when I guess they had Peter Report had an article. Scott Reynolds is the editor. No, he's not the editor in chief. He's, I guess, the boss of Peter Report. Uh,
Boss of all bosses.
boss of all
Capo.
bosses.
He's a
He
capo.
he did his 53-man roster, and he left Will Clark off it. I'm like, huh. I'm like, that's
I saw
usually
that.
usually Scott and I are kind of like in phase, use a football
Yeah.
term. And then they had an article, who needs a good game to make this team? And the guy he picked was Noah Spence. Now, he backed off it and said, I don't think he's getting cut, but, to be the player that the Bucs expect him to be and fans expect him to be, he needs a good game, this Jacksonville game. And I was just like, man, you got to go into concussion protocol.
Yeah.
Because no Will Clark and no Spence needs a great, a great game to make the squad. I was like, you got to be crazy. But yeah, I'm telling you, man, if JPP wasn't on this team, Will Clark would be our best edge defender or setting the edge against the run.
But now let me ask you this: when you're talking about Will Clark, Vinny Curry, what have you seen out of Vinny Curry? Are you happy with his performance so far, or do you need to see more from him?
No, I think Vinny Curry and Gerald McCoy are going to be deadly. I think those two guys are going to make people really flummoxed, if you let me say that, get away with that.
That is a word. That is a pewtercast word.
There you go. Flummoxed about who to double team. Obviously, they're going to double team Gerald, but I've said it before. Vinny Curry can constantly, or I shouldn't say constantly, can consistently beat one-on-ones. Gerald said it today, on when he was being interviewed by Dan Lucas from Channel 8. He's like, we got guys that if you put one-on-one, they're going to beat that one-on-one. And that's what I see from Vinny Curry. And the 2 sacks, Vinny Curry got the first one, and then McCoy got the second one, and those were in the first 2 preseason games. And it was because of them working together where McCoy got double teamed, and the guy peeled off McCoy to help Vinny help Vinny's guy because he was beating his man, and McCoy got pressure, or Vinny beat his man and ran the quarterback into McCoy, who was just getting past the double team. Those guys, that's the magic right there. That's the side of the defensive line that the pressure is going to happen. Now, up the middle against the run, I'm not saying Vinny Curry's a better defensive player than Will Clark. I'm saying if you're trying to set the edge on the run, Will Clark's our second best defender.
There you go. I can't argue. I can't argue that. The one thing that I expect to see is market improvement game after game with this defensive line. If everybody can stay healthy and they start to play together as a unit, they will be a problem for a lot of offenses. And I've been saying that, since the draft, and just kind of looking at this team on paper and what they have, and then getting to see them and getting to see some of the clips in practice. It's really exciting to watch this defensive line, and hopefully, even in the future, they continue to try to improve this defensive line year after year, because that's how you win games in the trenches, whether it's the offense or the defensive side of the ball. That's where games are won and lost. And I think eventually they will come together and play as a unit, just based on how they have been playing so far. So I think this team, the way the defense is taking shape, I expect a lot from this defense this year, and I don't expect them to be the liability that we saw last year. I expect a whole lot more out of them.
Yeah, I agree with you too. Like, I know that I'm not happy with the pressure yet, like the continuous pressure that I would like to get from the defensive line. But as far as the sack numbers, I mean, you can make an argument that starters have played 4 quarters. The starters have 4 sacks. You average that over a season, it's like 64 sacks or 68 sacks. Whatever that number is, it's 8 more than the Steelers, who led the league last year. So, wow. I mean, they're getting to the quarterback and putting him on the ground. I just wish there was more pressure where the quarterback got rid of the ball early or just threw it away. Like, seeing more of the pressures. It seems that defensive line is, when they get there, they're getting home, which is great. I would just like to see them get there and cause incompletions and dump offs. Now, I'm not a big person,
especially with JPP. JPP is getting close, and every game that I've watched him, he's getting closer and closer to getting to the quarterback. And eventually, it's going to happen where he starts really getting in there and causing damage. But just so far, I love what I've seen from him, and he's got a high motor still, and I think he does have a lot in the tank. And I again, another person that I have very high expectations for, And I think that when they can all work together as old school, from what the Buck would say, in concert,
Mhm.
I think you're looking at something really amazing that can really work.
All right, going to the Saints game. Give me your biggest worry on defense and your biggest worry on offense.
I would say the linebacker core. They're very underrated. Uh, Again, just kind of watching the Saints. The Saints have been one of the main teams in the NFC South that I've been watching in preseason and what they've been doing uh, on defense. Just that defensive line continues to work well together, and they've kind of picked up where they left off. I know they are susceptible to the run if the offensive line can open up those holes. They are susceptible to the run at times. However, it's just one of those things that they do continue to try to pressure the quarterback, and just that linebacker core and the defensive line.
All right, this is starting to get some run in the chat room, so I'm going to sort of switch up subjects here. How do you feel about Monken calling the plays week 1?
I love it. I know it's not going to happen. I have lowered my expectations on that. I think he's more than proven what he's capable of doing, and that's with a head coach. You have to be able to relinquish some of these responsibilities and focus on the overall team. That's what a head coach. He's not an offensive coordinator anymore. He should be focused on details throughout the whole team, and that freeing up the offensive play calling. And you could still keep an eye on the offense, but giving up that play calling ability will help this team overall, where he can focus on other things, little things, the details. And I noticed, last year, that's what there was a lot of problems with, was details that were being overlooked, it seems like to me, when you look back on everything.
One thing I did like, which I didn't know, and I don't know why I didn't think to ask or even look at it, that Monken is actually up in the press box.
Yeah.
And we've heard Dirk Cutter say that before, like the worst view of a football game is on the sidelines. So, you could add that into the pro Mumpkin calling plays thing. I'm just, I just want everyone just to slow down a bit, because even if they come out against New Orleans and lay an egg offensively, remember the kind of defenses they're going up against right now. The Bucs are calling a lot of audibles, which they should do, and they're doing a lot of checks. And everybody that's been playing quarterback has been in this system at least 3 years or as an Ivy League graduate. So it's so they get it. You know what I
Oh,
mean? I mean, you remember when that first game where Fitzpatrick just did that hang signal to Godwin, and Cutter didn't even see it, and that was the only pass that Godwin dropped. Like, he caught it, and the safety hit him, and he fumbled it and sort of landed on it. And
yeah.
so that came out that Fitzpatrick got to the line, saw the coverage, did a hand signal to Godwin, say, "Hey, don't worry about the route that was called. Run this route instead." And he throws it up there. Why? Because he understands the offense. So that, plus vanilla defenses, plus you only really and then as you go down the line, and we've seen, really your number 1 quarterback is playing the twos, and your number 3 quarterback, who actually should be a number 2 quarterback and maybe a starter on some teams. We'll see how these. You have to everyone kind of has a quarterback right now. We have to see how
Right.
these this. Well, I mean, so like you got 5 that came in the league this year, all in the first round. So, but Ryan Fitzpatrick could be pushing some quarterbacks for their jobs in this league from what we've seen. I think that's fair to say. So you really have 3 caliber starting NFL quarterbacks, albeit different levels and degrees, and they're going up against the ones, and they're going up against the twos, and then Fitzpatrick or Griffin is going up against guys that probably aren't going to be, even in the NFL in,
Right.
a day and a half. So I just want to throw that in there for the people that are all on the Monken train. Boop boop, let's go. To call the plays for the regular season. If I was Dirk Cutter, the safest thing to do, but I don't know if I would do it without Jameis Winston. The safest thing to do was just let Monken ride it out until he threw up an egg, and then take it back.
Right.
Like let him roll with it, roll with the hot hand until he gets it, and the egg could be week 1 in New Orleans. But when you're kind of fighting for your job, I guess you want to be the one driving the car, you know? Like
Yeah.
like
Again, I guess I'm wondering, does he? So he basically leans on the other coaches in different positions so that he can make the play calls. And I understand that, but again, if you're the head coach, you're responsible for the whole team, not just the offense. So again, I come back to this. It would behoove him to behoove. That's our SAT word right there. It will behoove him to get out there and actually look take care of the whole team, not just the offense. You've got an offensive coordinator. Why not utilize him? I thought he's done a great job mixing up the play calls uh, and being a lot less predictable than what we've seen in past years. And again, I like everybody's saying, I couldn't see why you wouldn't. I understand his job is on the line, but again, it's been working, and why not go with what works?
yeah, I think both arguments have validity.
Validity. Yeah, there you go.
Validity. There it is. Not an SAT word. I'm still struggling with it. All right, Gene. You know let's do this. We've talked a little about the Saints. I mean, we're gonna, the Peter Cast. We're gonna talk about the Saints this week. This is sort of when I guess the podcast world really gets rolling because content is just fed to you instead of us trying to find stuff to talk about.
Yeah, we just talked about the Saints yesterday, so if you haven't seen that podcast, be sure to check it out.
No,
But
I saw it. I saw it. I saw
okay.
it. I was there in the chat room.
Yeah.
But this is what I'm going to ask from you, and then we'll go ahead and get out of here and let everyone go to sleep, and we'll give your information where to find everybody. Give me your Homer Buccaneers season prediction as in record, and then give me your Vegas Buccaneer prediction as in saying like this is what I hope the Bucs do, and I can see it happening. But if I had to bet my house or my car or every ounce of or my job or everything I had in my bank account, this is really the record I'm comfortable with.
I could see the Bucs winning 10 games. I could see that. Realistically, I look at the schedule and I look at the personnel on some of these teams, and it's a something that's within the realm of possibility. I just don't see a team on this schedule that I'm like, wow, they're just going to go in and just blow the Bucs out. I just don't see it, just based on the personnel that the Bucs have. And as things get going, I believe they're in every single game. So I could see 10 wins, but I would I would I would struggle to say 8 wins. Uh, just conservatively.
You think that's minimum?
Minimum. Yeah.
Minimum 8-8,
Yeah.
10-6 ceiling. All right,
Hmm.
all right. I like it, man. I
What
like it.
about you? Now, I can't let you off the hook with this now.
It's my pod. I can do whatever I want.
I guess you're right about that.
I'm not on your show, which we will be coming out with our season predictions later on this week. But if I was on your show, where could people find me?
You would find you at Buc What You Heard on YouTube. I am on iTunes now after 500 years.
Yeah, you are.
I finally stopped being lazy and got on iTunes. The latest podcast is out. We talked a little bit about the Detroit Lions game, which is the one that we pretty much decided really matters. And then we kind of previewed the New Orleans Saints. We will have guests from Under the Dome podcast, the New Orleans Saints podcast, on next Wednesday, and we will be previewing the New Orleans Saints game. And it will be interesting to check out because there are a lot of people that are not very happy with the Teddy Bridgewater trade, and
Really?
Teddy Bridgewater coming to New Orleans.
Just give me what they're saying. Quick, is it because they gave a third rounder, the draft capital, and they already don't have a first rounder?
Basically, that's the big gist right there. But again,
They have no
the
cap
New
space.
Orleans Saints, the New Orleans Saints are trying to get to the Super Bowl, and that's their goal, I guess. So you got to have a good backup. And just judging from the backups that they have, they weren't real comfortable with him going into the regular season. So I guess to them that was a good move.
Yeah, check out if you haven't. I'm sure. I don't want to say I'm sure, but if you've heard of us, the Petercast, and you follow us, we talk about Buc What Ya Heard all the time on YouTube. Excuse me. His co-host Michael Pless, very football
Yeah.
knowledgeable. Always has good takes, knows what he's talking about. Needs to get some lights in those room, but whatever. Lexi's face. He looks like the shadow. Only the shadow knows. It's just like just all this darkness surrounding him. And now he grew a beard, so you can't even see his face. I swear, like look like a POW. Just kidding, Mike. Just kidding. Love your knowledge. But anyway, I'm glad you liked that one. Anyway, you can find me on Twitter at Ren Daxt, REN_DAXT. I'm always down to talk Buccaneers football or tell you how wrong you are if you say that Die Hard isn't a Christmas movie. You can find
I'll fight
Peter.
somebody about that.
Brent and I went at it for like an hour on Twitter today.
Brent is wrong. Brent Allen is wrong. Just FYI.
Yeah. Somebody came in and said, just Google top 10 Christmas movies. Number one's Die Hard. And how do you argue with Google? Like that's how you settle bar bets. That's how you the Philistine War was in 1552. No, it was in 1620. Google, you owe me a beer. I mean, that's how it works. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I guess he's going against Google now. Whatever. Brent Allen, the co-host, he runs the Petercast Twitter account at Petercast. We're also on Instagram. We're on Facebook. This is our new YouTube channel, which we've had, but we're actually using it with video now. I'm not sure we're going to do it during the regular season.
Time.
Yeah, it's about time. It used to be just our logo up there. I will be cutting and clipping this and throwing it up on the iTunes and interwebs so everyone can get it tomorrow on your favorite podcasting downloading systems. Special shout out to people in the Petercast Fantasy Football League, the BFC, the Brent Football Conference, and the RFC, the Ren Football Conference. Some people still have not accepted their invitations. If you have not accepted your invitations by this time tomorrow, you're getting kicked out, and we're going to find some people that want to come play free fantasy football with you. Not that you don't want to, you've forgotten, or maybe, I don't know, you're
I'm retired. I'm retired. If you're asking me, no, I'm not interested.
Oh, okay.
2015 champion. I'm retired.
Oh, really? You John Elway'd it?
Yeah, pretty much. I went out on top.
There you go. That's the way to do it. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. Gene, before we go, give me one hot take. We're out of here.
All right. Ronald Jones is not a bad running back.
Fair enough. I agree. Donovan Smith is going to start against the Saints. Peace out. See you guys.